We're being joined now by Ifeanyi Ugochukwu, the Chief Executive Officer at Tony Elumelu Foundation. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
So the World Bank, of course, had estimated that the COVID-19 pandemic could actually, drive up to 40 million people into extreme poverty, in Africa. And, of course, erasing 5 years of prospects and progress made in fighting poverty. Now, how does this entrepreneurial program hope to change this narrative, given the situation we're into now?
It is very critical that we do not lose the gains that we've had over the last 10 years. As you know, the Tony Elumelu Foundation is 10 years, was 10 years last year. In 2015, 5 years into the foundation, our founder, Mr. Tony Elumelu, launched a $100 million commitment, very ambitious, to identify, train, fund, mentor 10,000 African entrepreneurs over 10 years across all 54 African countries. And this was primarily because he believed in the principle of Africapitalism, which is the principle that states that Africa's private sector is the engine house and the primary driver of economic development on the African continent. And of course, economic development is what we need to catalyze growth, poverty, and eradicate poverty, as well as create jobs. And so we have put entrepreneurship on the global agenda. COVID-19 came, and it has almost decimated the African economies, targeting sectors like the tourism, restaurants, and these are sectors that are often manned by the small and medium enterprises. And so our Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program opened its application January 1st, because we intend on leading the charge for the economic recovery in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
All right, I guess there's some kind of a technical issue there with your mic that needs to be corrected. In the meantime, while that is fixed, let's again look at what the World Bank is saying on the global economy, expecting the economy to grow by 4% in 2021. That's assuming an initial COVID-19 vaccine rollout becomes widespread throughout the year. The bank says, however, a recovery will likely be subdued unless policymakers move decisively to tame the pandemic and implement investment-enhancing reforms. Now, the bank is also projecting that Nigeria's economy will witness a resumed growth at 1.1% in 2021, with activities expected to remain dampened by low oil prices, agreed OPEC quota, falling public investment due to weak government revenues, among other challenges. Well, I guess, Ladi, you were trying to throw a question there.
Exactly. So youths make up about 60% of the unemployed in Africa. And according to the World Bank, this is the 7th year since the launch of this entrepreneurship program. What impact would you say this program has had in the job market as far as Africa is concerned?
As far as Africa is concerned, when we launched the program to train and fund 10,000 across Africa, our projection was that we would have a total of 1 million jobs created over the period through direct and indirect jobs. And we are very, very glad to see that results from the impact assessment report that we have just recently concluded with PwC and will be launching in Q1 this year shows that our entrepreneurs have beaten the statistics. We know that in Africa, 3 out of every 5 small startups fail in the first 2 years. But we've shown that on the reverse, 3 out of 5 startups that start with us are actually still in business. And these entrepreneurs are creating a minimum of 5 jobs. Some are known to have created over 300, 500 jobs. And so for us, the growth in terms of the job creation can be exponential. If we're seeing this impact with just over 9,000 entrepreneurs who in the last 7 years we've trained and funded, imagine what we will see when we train and fund 100,000 or even 1 million. And that is our projection, working with partners across the globe, because entrepreneurship is the only sustainable way for economic development on the African continent.
And talking about job creation there and entrepreneurship, now the issue about gender inequality, that's a global issue. So how do you factor all of these, bringing in women, into your program, empowering women more in all of this?
It's some studies that have been done in the last few years shows that in Africa, the access to finance gap between men and women is large. And so what we want to do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation is to prioritize the support that we give to women entrepreneurs. This we have demonstrated by our consistent increase in female participation from the beginning of the program. When we started the program, we had just about 26% female participation. As of last year, we had 41% female participation, and we intend to keep going till we get to 50-50. But most importantly, I think, is the partnership we have with the European Union by way of EU DevCo, where we entered a partnership with them for 20 million euros to identify, train, and fund 2,400 additional women across all 54 African countries on our 2021 TEF entrepreneurship program. In addition to that, we will also be supporting the growth of existing female businesses within our alumni. And so we are committed to ensuring that the gender gap is bridged, that there's inclusivity, and that the old saying that goes, when you empower a woman, you empower a nation, is epitomized in the work that we do across the continent.
I beg to come in here again because this concerns women, and I'm very much interested in that. Now, while working with women, having identified all of this, what would you say are the major challenges, with women coming up when it comes to entrepreneurship?
In Africa, women face unique challenges in comparison to their counterparts across the world. And that's because we've had a historical and cultural barrier to women in any type of formal, even land ownership, for instance. Most customary laws across Nigeria, it bars women from owning land. We found that studies have shown that women make up 90% of the workforce, because in the SMEs and the micro businesses, it is women owned. Unfortunately, they are earning only 60% of the income and own a mere 10% of the property. And so what we want to see is to break down these barriers, to ensure that to ensure that all the enabling environment that women need to be supported to run their businesses, to grow their businesses, is put in place. Because we know that when a woman is empowered, it trickles down to her family, to her community. So if we're really looking to build up communities and to create economic growth, we must emphasize women-owned businesses.
Okay, well, understandably, but I'm also interested in the men.
Okay, go ahead.
So what do the men expect to gain this time?
Well, so even though the partnership with the EU is focusing on women, of course, the program goes beyond that partnership. And so in 2020, we will still be selecting our 1,000 entrepreneurs who applied, but unfortunately, we did not proceed with the 2020 applications because it fell right in the middle of the lockdown.
Exactly.
And for that, we're not discriminating against the men. The men are very welcome.
Just saying.
Okay,
so for 2021, we can expect to train and fund well over 3,000, possibly up to 4,000, of which men will form. We will give you some. Don't
Fantastic.
worry.
Absolutely. And I'm happy you're not discriminating against the men.
Yes.
Anyway, hold your thoughts there. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with this conversation, because I know that this year's edition focuses more on SMEs.
Exactly.
So we'll be back in a moment.
And we've been speaking to the CEO of Tony Elumelu Foundation, Ifeyinwa Ugochukwu. Yeah, so the postponement for 2020, most entrepreneurs that applied at that time, can new entrepreneurs actually apply for the 2021?
Absolutely. So in the 2020 applicants only need to revalidate their application by going into the system from February 1st. But we are accepting new applications in 2021. And all you need to do to apply is to go to www.tefconnect.com and fill in the application form, and you will get an automated response as to which segment of training you'll be accepted to, if you're accepted to training. And it is very interesting that for young people, we need to understand in Africa that our youth are our greatest assets. With Africa being the only continent in the world getting younger, Africa's positioning in the global framework is critical in terms of youth empowerment, entrepreneurship empowerment. We must prepare our youth for the world of tomorrow and not for the world of today. And that includes giving them an entrepreneurial mindset. Every young person in Africa must embody an entrepreneurship spirit in order to be execution-focused, resilient, and successful in whatever they do. And that is the premise behind the program. That is why we prioritize a world-class training that many have likened to a mini MBA, as well as mentoring. Also, mentoring, training, and funding are two sides of the same coin. Because a lot of programs, they train, but they don't fund. So you teach, and it's all theory. And so what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation is to ensure that once we have trained you and given you the skills and the tools to start and grow your businesses, we also give you that financial empowerment to be able to start that journey.
And how do you monitor, those that you have empowered to ensure that their businesses are really growing?
Monitoring and evaluation is a critical pillar in the work that we do. As I mentioned earlier in the program, we've just completed an impact assessment exercise with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And that is how seriously we take our monitoring and evaluation, because it's only in tracking our entrepreneurs that we can measure the number of jobs they've created, the revenue they're generating. And even for those who have not done well, we want to know what happened. Why didn't you do well? What do you need in your environment? What can your government do for you? What can private sector do for you in order to help you overcome those challenges and make a success of your business?
So what is your...
you go.
Okay, so what is your outlook for the job market in 2021? I mean, we're going into new normal, and this year's program focuses on SMEs.
Always. Always. We are always focused on SMEs. We believe that SMEs are the lifeblood of Africa's economy, even in developed economies. SMEs produce 70% of the jobs in countries like Japan and Germany. In Africa, it's 90% of the jobs produced by SMEs. So if we are going to bridge if we're going to ensure that jobs are created and that we bridge that gap that we see between the number of people in the job market and the jobs available, we must empower SMEs. We must ensure that there are enough healthy small and medium enterprises in the African economy, because they are the job creators. And that is what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation. And we're calling on governments, calling on development organizations, and as well as private sector to focus on the SMEs, focus on giving them what they need to create success, which is funding, which is training, which is an enabling environment, policies.
So teaching them how to fish and giving them fish.
As opposed to giving them fish, absolutely. That is our mantra.
All right, thank you very much, Ifeinwa.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
CEO, Tony Elumelu Foundation, we appreciate your time
Thank you.
this morning.
Thank you.